Hello, welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia, and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space in my backyard. I was about to start seeds, and that's kind of what you're seeing people do that's in the areas where you can start growing now, starting seeds for like spring, because we don't really have a spring. And then I thought about it. People have asked, like, where do I even start? And so before we start these seeds, which will be the next video now, we're going to talk about what you need to simply start your garden. And it's not a lot. Like, I know we see the pretty gardens, the aesthetic gardens. Cool, that's fine, but you don't have to start that way. And your look of your garden can change whenever you want it to. Mine absolutely did. I started out with one garden bed made of blocks, and I got those blocks for free off of Facebook Marketplace. And then when I wanted to expand but not spend money, I just started doing no dig. Let's talk about starting a garden, y'all. So the first thing I would say is to check your sun. Like, just go outside at different points in the day. So go out in the morning. Your sun is going to be in the east, of course, in the morning, and see where it falls on your yard. And then go outside in the afternoon, because it's going to move from east to south. The sun is in the sky for the longest amount of time in the south. So I would say check to see where your sun is at and where it falls on your garden. In the summer, spring, fall, and winter, it's gonna fall in. Oh, we gotta turn the lead pot off. 1 second. By the way, it's not the new lead pot that is beeping. It's the older lead pot. So let's get back to starting a garden. Just check where your sun is. Just if you have not started a garden yet, just check where your sun is, because lots of plants, a good amount of, especially summer growing plants like your tomatoes and your peppers and your squash, they need full sun. And when you hear the words full sun, and my thought when I first started gardening was they need to have sun all day long. No, full sun is 6 hours or more of sun a day. So that's why I said go out at different times to see where the sun falls, and then that way you will know where to put the plants that need full sun. And then if you have plants that need partial sun, you know that you can put it in different places in your garden. And so then, after you know where your sun is, you want to check your first and last frost date. No matter which garden channel you watch, that's what they're going to tell you. Know your first and last frost dates. Because there are frost tender plants. Those are your summer plants, where if they get a frost, they will more than likely die. And they may be able to withstand a small frost, but in most cases, they're going to end up dying. They're not going to survive through the fall and the winter. And so you want to know when your last frost is and when your first frost is. Because if you plant something that's frost tender, let's say at the end of August, and it has, I don't know, 70 days to maturity, chances are you're not going to get a harvest from that plant, and that can cause disappointment. And so if you know these dates, and then you pay attention to the days to maturity, which is normally on a tag if you buy your start from the store, or it's on the packet of seeds if you are choosing to start from seed. So you want to definitely know those two things. And then of course you want to know your first frost date as well, because let's say that you decide you want to plant let's say broccoli. Broccoli is one of those plants that they don't do well in the heat. They will bolt, and bolting means like they will turn into flowers. So you'll hear people say go to flower. You'll hear people say my plant is bolting. That means that the plant has heated up to the point that it cannot stand it anymore, and it's now going to give you seed. Seeds originally start from a flower, and then once the flower dies back, then it'll start to dry and you'll start to get the seeds. So it's important to know the first day you could possibly get a frost, because it's all a prediction, and the last day you'll get a frost in that year. You can literally just go Google last frost date, and for this time of year your last frost date is the most important, because your last frost date is going to be, sometime in spring, and so that'll let you know when you can plant out your summer or spring vegetables. You normally plant summer vegetables in spring, late spring, and then it goes into summer. When we end the summer, then we want to know when our first frost date is. This will allow us to know if we can plant for a second crop. It'll also allow us to know like when we need to get our fall crops in. So absolutely go check. You can do a Google of your zip code and put last frost date. You can do a Google of the closest city to you zip code for the last frost date as well. Last and first. It'll tell you both depending on what you Google. And so you can Google it. Also, Farmer's Almanac is a good place to go for your last and first frost dates as well. But just a simple Google search, that will work too. And so another thing that you'll want to think about, but it can always change, like I said earlier in the video, is how you're going to grow. And so in my garden, I have a mix. I grow in raised beds, which is the block beds. I grow in Vigo garden beds, which were gifted to me, but I absolutely love them. I think they're really cool, very aesthetically pleasing. I grow in no dig. I put down a piece of cardboard on the ground, and then I put some compost on top of it, and then I just started planting. Cardboard, wet it so that it can start to break down, and then you can plant in it. You can literally plant in it the day that you make it. And then there's also in-ground, which means you just go outside. You may have to till, you may have to dig a little bit, maybe amend it with some granulated fertilizer, some bone meal or some blood meal, and then you start to plant directly into the native soil. And then there's also, for people who don't have a yard, they only have balconies. There are so many things you can use to start your balcony garden or your porch garden. So you can have bags. I love growing in bags. I have about 60 bags and I love growing in them. And I always say, if it can grow in the ground, if it can grow in a raised bed, it can grow in a bag. Just so everybody knows that. Because people do sometimes ask, like, do you think I could grow this or that in a bag? And I would always say yes, because you still have soil, you still have what you need to grow in it. You will have to maybe fertilize a little bit more because what's in the bag is what the plant will have. So you will have to give it the nutrients that it needs. They also have like garden towers. They have garden stalks. And you can grow a lot of food. Go check out Becoming a Farm Girl. I haven't mentioned her a lot on this channel, but she was one of the people that like I started watching when I first wanted to grow. And I'll give you some more people that I watched just for reference in case you're wanting to get started. Because you're not going to learn everything over here on my channel because I'm still learning. I'm still learning, but I'm willing to share what I do know with you. I'm willing to share what I don't know with you, and my tries and my tricks and my all of that stuff with you. But there are other channels, of course, that you can go and use. And if you are one of the people who don't have a lot of space, can't go out in your backyard, go watch Becoming a Farm Girl. She is absolutely amazing. She is growing a lot of food. She is preserving a lot of food over there. She's making medicine over there. So I would say go and check out her channel for sure. So yeah, you can grow in bags, you can grow in containers. I have pots outside. I have an old compost bin that keeps giving me volunteer potatoes every year because I don't take them all out. And so when I say volunteer, it's just something that I didn't plant on purpose, in which I guess mine aren't volunteers anymore. The first time they were. Now they're not anymore. I make sure I leave some because I know that they will sprout again. But again, this can change over time. I started out saying that I was going to do raised beds, but when I wanted to expand and I did not want to spend money, I switched to no dig. And then my blueberry bushes, they're in ground. Like I didn't put any cardboard down or anything like that. I just planted them straight into the native soil. For one, because I knew they liked acidic soil. I did a little bit of research before I planted them out. I knew they liked acidic soil, so I didn't want to give them a bunch of nutrients that would lower the soil's acidity and then didn't get the harvest that I wanted from them. So it is totally a mixture. You can do whatever you want. It's your garden. But it would be a good idea to just kind of think through it and what you would like it to be. I am a kind of aesthetic girl. I like the aesthetics of it, but a garden doesn't have to be aesthetic. You could literally just go do no dig and you would be growing for a fraction of the price, especially if you can find a decent price on compost. By the way, a lot of people have asked me what size bags I use. All of my bags are 7 gallons. I got them from Amazon. I will put a link to them. Actually, probably there's already a link down in the description in all of my boxes. They are 7-gallon bags. They were, what, 12 pack for $21, and I think they're by Jeria, Jeria. And so that's what I use. I have about 60 of them. I have more. I just haven't filled them, and I have to find a spot for them. And so the fourth thing that you would want to figure out is what you want to grow. And so we see a lot of things being grown. On your first on your first time starting, it may be a good idea just to grow some easy things, some things that's going to give you some wins, some things that's going to make you want to grow again. So my first year of gardening was not a great year. It was pretty awful. And so I still decided I'm going to extend this garden. As that one garden bed was dying and pests were eating it and diseases were coming, I was still expanding my garden because I was like, I know I'm not this bad at garden. I don't even believe it. And so that's when I decided, you know, I'm going to use this whole off season to go ahead and figure out how to garden. And that's what I did. I used YouTube. I went to a lot of YouTube channels. And like I said, I'll give you some of those channels that I use before this video ends. But just kind of deciding what you'll grow and actually how you plan to start. And so my first garden, I use starts from the store. This is also where it's important to know your first and last frost date, because the stores will start to sell these starts early. That doesn't mean that they should be being planted. Also did not know that. I think I lost my first thing of cucumbers to not knowing my first frost because it was at the store. So I was thinking, if a store in my area is selling it, then it's got to be time to plant it. That is not true. Just so you know, that is not true. So make sure you know your first and last frost date. So if you decide to do starts, that's fine. It's definitely the way I started. When we watch a lot of garden channels right now, people start from seed. People start from seed because it can be cheaper. If we're not buying every seed that's out there, it can be cheaper. They're also growing from seed, number 2, because you can get different varieties that you're not going to find at a big box store, or you're not going to find at your local feed and seed store. And so that's why a lot of us start from seed as well. But if you want to start and you're like, seed starting feels very overwhelming, because when you watch channels, also when you read things, it can feel overwhelming. But we're going to start seeds in the next video, and I'm going to show you that that's also not as overwhelming as it looks. So you can do starts, or you can also grow from seed. With starts, I would say if you can find a local feed and seed store or a farmer's market, you may be able to find the starts much cheaper. And at a farmer's market, you may also be able to find varieties that you can't find at the big box store as well. And then, of course, if you do choose to start from seed, I would still say go to your local feed and seed store, because my local feed and seed store will sell me a half, what I think it was like a 1/4 pound for like 75 cents. And that's kind of the same thing, if not more, than what you're getting at the big box stores or online for a fraction of the price. And so, yeah, I would check the local feed and seed store if you have one for cheaper seeds. But then there are other companies that I love to use. One is Kids Seed Co. So Kids Seed Co. is a family-owned business on Instagram. And so they sell seeds on Instagram, and they do have a lot of the things that you couldn't find in the store. But yeah, I love Kids Seed Co. I'm sure you maybe have heard of Botanical Interest. Botanical Interest is a pretty reasonably priced seed company, and you can find the different things over there too. They were just brought out by, or purchased, I don't want to say brought out by, they were purchased by Kevin over at Epic Gardening, and so he is an actual gardener that owns a seed company. So I would hope that, you know, he kind of understands the, you know, keeping the price where it was. And then there's Baker's Creek. Baker's Creek sends out the most beautiful seed catalog every year. They have a free one, and then they have one that you can pay for, and it's much bigger, and probably, not probably, chances are it has more seed options options, but you also can go online to all of these companies and order offline. But I just love looking through the seed catalogs. I think it's just fun. So you have Baker's Creek. And then you have Southern Seed Exposure, I think, or Southern Seed Savers. Or those could be two different companies, but I like to use those two companies as well. And then just kind of depending on what I need, I may just Google it. So last year I was looking for a lot of medicinals, and when I say medicinals, they are good. Like, you can make medicine. They can help your body the way that medicine helps it. And so I did a Google search, and I found Mary's Heirloom Seeds. I found Medicinals Only, I think it's called, something like that. And so just Google. If it's a company you're not familiar with, you know, read the reviews, things like that. But I'm not very touchy or picky about which seed companies that I use. I will pretty much use any seed company if they have the seed I want and if reviews are good. I have not done a lot of Etsy or Amazon, but I'm not saying those aren't good places, because I know you can find seeds there. I just haven't used those. And if all else fails and you're like, I don't want to pay this much for seeds, there are seed swaps all over Instagram. There is one called Chefs Who Grow, and she's over on Instagram, Chefs Who Grow. And she does a seed swap. I believe it's every Saturday. I used to be very heavy in that community, but I kind of fell off a little bit. Not for any reason, just me falling off. But you can find a lot of seeds over there. Most times there is no cost for that. You know, you share your seeds, people share their seeds. And then if you say like, I don't have any seeds, I'm just getting started, people will be nice enough to send you seeds as well. I would just ask that once you get started, that you go back and return the favor, because seeds aren't always cheap. And so when people are sharing, it would be nice if we return the favor. I've given out seeds over there to people who say I don't have any seeds, and I'm like, oh well, what do you need? And it's a community. The gardening community is an amazing community of people who love what they're doing and want to make sure that other people can do it too, in most cases. And so the last thing that I would say you need, you're gonna need patience. And you're gonna need a love for this, because while you get food from it, I don't think that's gonna always be enough. Because I'll tell you, in the summertime, sometimes I'm like, no, not going out there today. It is hot. There are bugs. I don't want to sweat. Like, I don't want to do none of that. But eventually, because there's a love for gardening, I'm going to go back outside. I always do. And then I have my animals. So I'll walk through the garden to the animals and be like, hey, look at that. And then all the wheels start turning in my head. So you're going to need patience, because it takes time for things to grow. But you're also going to need a love for gardening that keeps taking you back out to the garden. And so the last thing I'm going to say is you're going to need resources. That's number 6. You're going to need resources. You can absolutely be like me and go outside and buy some soil from the store, throw it into your raised garden bed, and boom, put your stuff out there. Your chances are probably 50-50 when you do that. Because I did get some harvest. Could my harvest have been better? Absolutely. So I would say you're going to need some resources. So one of my biggest resources that I used when I first came in, because I guess she drew me with her personality, she drew me. But she also had very good information. She has a much bigger farm now, so she has much more animals. And so she has progressed in her gardening and her homesteading. But if you go back to watch some of her older videos, just over at Roots and Refuge, she was amazing. She was very pivotal in me starting my garden, because I watched her garden and I watched her love for gardening, and I saw like her, and I was like, I can do this, and this looks like something that would be peaceful for me, something that would help me. I struggle with anxiety, and so gardening absolutely is one of those things that helps me to have those slow moments of starting seeds where my mind is thinking but I'm at peace. Those slow moments of just being out in the garden, of transplanting plants and singing and listening to music, those type of things. And she gave me that feeling of this could be the thing. So Jess from Roots and Refuge, go and visit her if you are looking for a resource. Charles Dowding, he is also on YouTube. He's on Instagram. He was very, he made me see that it is not a hard thing. He showed me that, you know, you can plant your seeds, wait for them to sprout, transplant them just by pushing them down in the soil, covering them up, and they were gonna grow. He made me see that you can multi-sow, where it's not so much thought in spacing. And so Charles Dowding is, I think he's out in the UK. He does a large garden. It's market gardening, but some of the tips and principles that he uses are very good for any gardener. I also was very interested in compost, and Charles Dowding does compost. So go and check out Charles Dowding. Another good one is Grow Family Network. And so I believe they're definitely in the States. I want to say in Louisiana. So they have a pretty long growing season. But he has all kinds of things that I guess we maybe wouldn't normally grow. Like I think he has banana trees out there. He has quite a few things out there that is interesting. He's doing it with his family. He has, I'm not sure how many kids, but he has a lot of children. He is actually where I learned my cover, I guess it's a hoop house or a low house. I'm not sure. That's where I got that idea from. So he's growing. I think they grow in their front yard a little bit too. So Grow Family Network was one of the good ones that I watched when I first started gardening as well. And then you have Whispering Willow Farms. When I originally started watching her, she was at a smaller property and she had rabbits, and I was very interested in having some type of animal on the property. Didn't know if it would be rabbits or chicken. Definitely didn't think about quail because I didn't even know about them. But she had a smaller property, but she was growing a lot of food. And so I was like, this is a channel that I would like to watch. And she did, you know, starting inside and things like that. And so I was very happy with her channel. She was one of the channels. She is now at the farm that Roots and Refuge was at. When I said, you know, go and watch some of Jess's older videos, because they were, you know, very informational in the way of getting started. And so Whispering Willow Farms, her name is Jill. Then there's GrowVeg on YouTube. He is also growing. He has, it looks like, more space, but he's growing in a smaller area of his property. It is GrowVeg. Very informational, very easy to understand, and gives a lot of information. So check out GrowVeg as well. And of course, we got to come back to Becoming a Farm Girl, because Becoming a Farm Girl is doing the same and more than what I'm doing, and she is growing on a balcony. She's growing on a balcony in the tower growers. So like you gotta go check her out. Even if you have space, the information she gives is good. She gives information about like how to shop and save money. She does recipes over there, her cooking, all of that stuff. So you gotta go check her out. Broke Farmer, of course, we always talk about Broke Farmer, because Broke Farmer gonna show you what's happening, whether it's good, whether it's bad. He's amazing with some trees, fruit trees, citrus trees. He loves fruit trees and citrus trees, and I have learned a lot over there about trees from Broke Farmer. So go on over there and check him out. He does a live, I think it's every other Sunday, where it's like a group of people and they're all just talking, and he's talking, and he has guests and things like that. Just a fun time when you go over to his lives, and they last 2 and 3 hours, y'all. You're gonna learn something over there. So go check out Broke Farmer's channel as well. And then there's Faith Family Homestead. Her and her family lived in, I think, an RV for a while. Like they were in either an urban setting or a suburban setting. They lived in a RV for a while, and now they are on their property. They have, you know, purchased a homestead. They have animals and things, but she also has an amazing garden out there. And right now she is working on building her soil. She did a soil test. So if you are looking for soil test experiences, it's not gonna be over here. Because if you're not new here, you know I said like I'm just not doing it. It's just not, I don't know, maybe I should, I don't know, but I'm not at this point. And so she just did a soil test. She found out that there were some nutrients in her soil that was just way too high. And so she's working on building her soil right now. So I think that would be a great resource for you to go and learn like the soil part of it, because the soil is pretty much the most important part of growing. That is how your plants are going to grow. So she's doing like fixing her garden back up. She's also putting weed barrier and stuff back down, just getting ready for spring. And so I'm not having to do any of that right now. And I think that she would be a great resource. And it is Faith Family Homestead. That's Dom over at Faith Family Homestead that you may want to go and give a look at. I love that it's very natural. I love that she's just out and about showing you what she's doing. So go check out Faith Family Homestead as well. And then there's Jess over at Plot 37, I think is what it's called. And she has an allotment and she loves what she does. And she teaches very, very easily. You can understand. And they are always, it's her and her mother. They are always up at the plot. And she's very informational. She takes you with her when she sows her seeds. Yeah. Go check out Jess at Plot 37 as well. And then Beautee in the Garden. Beautee in the Garden, I believe she is in the Carolinas. I'm not sure which one. And she's growing in her backyard. She has a nice sized backyard, but Beautee in the Garden can grow, it seems like anything. And she's very informational as well. She does a lot of tours so you can see how her garden is moving along throughout the year. There's T. I'm pretty sure it's T over at Beautee in the Garden. And like I said, she can grow anything. And so y'all been watching me with these leeks that I was so excited about. I'm still excited about it. But you want to see somebody grow a big leek? Go check out Beautee in the Garden. She gonna grow a big leek. She gonna grow a big cabbage. She gonna grow all of. Starting a garden, growing your food. You gonna learn it over there at Beautee in the Garden. And then Huw Richards. He is not in the States, not in the United States. I cannot think of where he is. Anywho, he is doing you know, like a kitchen garden type thing. Very informative, has been on YouTube for years, like since he was a teenager. So he has a lot of information. He does do a lot of, I think, companion planting. I think at a point he also did square foot gardening. I'm not sure, but his current videos, his older videos, they're all very informative. And right now he's actually doing a project where he's only taking a small space, and I think he's calling it the secret garden, where it's just a small space and he's showing you all the food you can grow in a very small space. So yeah, go check out Huw Richards as well. And then Epic Gardening and Epic Homesteading, he has always been in a small area. It's always been, you know, like suburban-ish or like urban-ish. He has a homestead now. He moved to it maybe at the beginning of the year last year, and he has set it up. He has chickens. He has a pond with fish. But I know everybody's not trying to do it on that grand scale. But what I'm saying is he's not out in the country, and he's doing all of this. And Jacques in the Garden, he's also a good channel to watch. They work together. So if you find Epic Homesteading or Epic Gardening, you're gonna find Jacques in the Garden, and I love them both. They're very funny. They keep it fun, but also very educational as well. And the last one that I have to tell you about, someone that she found me and then I found her, the everyday life of an OCDish chick. And that's Nikki, and she is also growing in, you know, like a normal, I guess, suburban or urban area. And so Nikki, what I like about her is she's using what she has around her. So like, I believe she started her seeds in like yogurt containers. When she went to fill her beds just recently, she used what was already on her property. So wood chips, pine needles, and she's very real about it. She has a mixed garden plan as well. So she grows in containers, she grows in raised beds. She does all of that over there. And then she's very real about it. She also does cooking, and she's trying different recipes. And I don't get a lot of time to comment, but I watch a lot of videos, and I'm always leaving a like. I don't have a lot of time to comment. I don't have a lot of time to answer y'all's comments right now. I'm trying to get through those now. Also trying to get the loofah seeds out. But I watch Nikki, every video that Nikki puts out. And so she is everyday life of an OCD-ish chick. And I think you would love her channel too. If there's any question that you have, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And so I don't mind other people answering comments. So if you see a question that you can answer, by all means, go ahead and answer it. But if there's something I didn't cover, I covered the very basics of how you can get started. Because it's January, we're watching people start seeds. And if you're anything like I was, you just wanted to garden. You didn't know where to start, but you wanted to garden. And so I wanted to do like the basics of what you need to know to start a garden. So if you have any other questions, go ahead and put them down in the comments. I'm gonna try to start using the comments to make videos right now so that I make sure I'm giving you what you need to get started to garden, right? And so the next video will be me starting my seeds, the simple way that I start my seeds. Nothing you can't do, right? Nothing you can't do. Nothing that can't be set up somewhere in your home, because my seed starting station is very basic. And I'm okay with that. It's the same seed starting setup that I have had since I started gardening. And I don't think that I will change it. It works for me in the area, in the space that I have. So we'll be starting seeds on Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to visit me, over on Instagram, where I post about the things going on in the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.